Well, folks, if you couldn't tell by the title, I'm getting all this stuff ready because I am going on my first ice fishing trip tomorrow. So I'm going to go over some of the things that I use, some of my essentials. This is most of it. That's a lot of stuff to drag out with you for a day, but I love the hut, wouldn't change it, and I'll talk about some of that here in a second because I want to redo this, which is the big old rod storage box. Got the Debos sticker in there. I've got more stickers too. I'll talk about that later. I want to downsize some of that because as you can see, this is a lot of stuff to have on here. Absolutely crazy how much heat this little doodle put out, but when it's -0, this thing is a lifesaver. Now for a closer look, in case you've never been inside one of these, this is why they call it tip up, because this thing just folds back, folds up when you're ready, and that is the whole thing right there. Mine's the Jason Mitchell Elite XL. It's just a little bit bigger than some of the other one-seaters, but as you can see, it's got, I put the seat here in the middle. It's got the nice padded seat. It's got a number of different storage options you're probably not going to be able to see in the dark. I added on the little minnow bucket here. That folds over, so when I'm using my minnows, I can do that. I had a few different sets of lights. So these lights on the side I added, and then there's a light down here by my foot in front of the sled where I pull it. So this is lighting up my my ice fishing hole. This is where my holes will be out here. That runs off of one little battery down there that's alligator clipped. But enough of all that stuff. Let's get into what I think are some of the basics and some of the must-haves if you're just getting started in ice fishing. All right, first thing I'm gonna talk about is an auger. Now, I made the switch and got a lithium auger, 40 volt lithium. This is the battery it takes, quite a hunk. Put that in there. She's fully charged. Make sure it works. She works. It's got forward, backward. I'll show you this more on the water throughout the year, but this thing has definitely been a lifesaver. You know, I had the manual one, I did that for a year, and I was like, enough of that, I'm saving up for one of these. There's gas-powered augers. They're coming out with the lighter augers. This one, I mean, I can lift it with one hand, but it's not light. I think probably, oh yeah. Anyway, it's not that heavy, like 28 pounds, but it's been a lifesaver. You know, when you're drilling a bunch of holes, if you don't have like a Panoptics or something, and you're hole hopping and drilling a bunch, that absolutely saves your arm. Now next up is a flasher. I have the Vexilar FLX12, I think. Yep, FLX12 is the one I have. And essentially what this does is it shows you different lines. It gives your depth and it shows you where the fish are at in the water column. You can see them come up on here as little lines. So you can see your lure on there. It'll come out as a light. You'll see the fish come up. And this just helps give you eyes underwater. If you don't have one, yeah, you can certainly fish without a Vexilar, but this shows you exactly what depth it is, how deep you're down, where the fish are at, you know, if they're up high or suspended, if it's crappie, if you're looking for, you know, perch and bluegill down on the bottom. This shows you exactly where the fish are at. So could you fish blind? Yes, but I think these are like, you can get some, you know, some of the more simpler ones or used ones for, you know, 150. Save up your money. I think this is well worth it. Okay, next up is one that is hard to justify for the price. My wife found this on sale, got it for me for Christmas, but it's the Markham Quest HD underwater camera. So this little part's what you drop down in the hole, and this is a camera. It's a really cool camera setup. Drop it down there. I got a new attachment so I can just turn it and pan it to where I want. And then you can see your jig on the screen. Like you see now, you can see the fish come up to it. I know when to set the hook, and I'm amazed by the number of fish that come up and bite it that I didn't even feel. They just kind of suck it in. You can set the hook. Now listen, I was a 90s kid. I grew up on a lot of the old video game systems, and this is one for me. It's like video game fishing. Does everybody need one? No, certainly get a flasher before that, but if you can afford it, for me, what I've used, it's a lot of fun. Now, if you get into real deep water, or if you only fish real deep water ice fishing, doesn't work as well. This one, once you get down, I don't remember, like 20 feet or something like that, it goes black and white. Can be a little hard to see, of course, because light can't get down, especially when it's all froze and there's snow on top. So light can't get down as far. It does have a light on it, but that's where I would rather use the Vexilar. For like hole hopping, the Vexilar is so much easier. You drill a hole, drop it in, you can see it right away if there's any fish. Got the dang hiccups. Drop it in right away, see if there's any fish there. You get an automatic read on the depth. You know, it's instantaneous with the flasher. With the camera, sometimes it can be kind of hard to get it turned around, find your jig, get all that lined up. You have to have an extra hole. It can be kind of a pain in the butt. But if you're sitting in a spot where you know there's fish on a brush pile or something, that camera is a blast. Okay, now when it comes to your rod and reel carrying case, I got a second one here I'm gonna show you after I get some stuff put in. It's a soft case, it's a little bit smaller, and I think it will fit perfectly in my hut when I drag it around. Now I've got a hard case, and this thing has been amazing, but as you can see, that thing takes up a lot of real estate. Okay, when I take this out, it is nice having all this stuff ready to go because, you know, if I'm fishing smaller stuff, if I want to move up to something bigger, each one of these is just a little bit different. Now, I'm going to show you my two favorite combos that I use, and those will cover most anything you're fishing unless you're getting into the real big walleye, northern stuff, but For everything that I've caught, they've done awesome. Okay, these two rods are extremely similar and I've liked both of them a lot. So the first one is the 13 stick tickle stick. You've seen a lot of people using these probably. That's what this reel is, the 13 Fishing Black Betty, the free fall they call it. And that works by pulling this trigger here and that drops the jig down. Let go, it comes up, and then you can reel it up. So it's really nice if you're just fishing like a little jig head or anything for, bluegill and you want to keep playing your, your depth up and down. I absolutely love this reel. For anything, that's not super big, absolutely love it, would recommend it a ton. And you can see there, this is a 23-inch ultralight. This has the different colored tip. You can see it's flimsy and it's flat. Can you see that? This is what they call, I forget what they call it there, some indicator stick, I don't know, but you can see you can bend this thing way over. Now this Okuma Inspira Ice is very similar. You can see it's got the different colored tip. It's flat, you can bend this way over. This is a 24-inch ultralight, so both very similar, but an ultralight for those really small jigs. You can see, you can bend this thing completely over and the drag starts coming out. So they're real soft for little panfish, and this jig isn't even that small, but I'm talking like little tiny I don't know what they are, 1/50th or something like that. Itsy bitsy little tungsten jigs. Sometimes those bluegill and perch are extremely finicky and that's all they'll eat. I think this is 3-pound mono is usually my go-to, mono or fluoro. I know people use different, but 3-pound is usually my go-to. Some will go down to 2. I personally don't go under 3, but I like a 23-ish inch short stick like this when you're sitting here jigging it over the hole works absolutely perfect. Now the second one that I really liked is this Abu Garcia Veritas combo. This is a 30-inch light, so it's a little bit longer. Some people like a little bit longer rod if you're sitting farther back, or if you're standing up over the hole, a longer rod is a little bit nicer because obviously it gets down farther. You don't have to bend down as much. And when you get into like that medium light, you can throw these little bit larger lures. So this is a 13 Fishing, I think they call it the Magic Man lipless, but it's in like this reactive chrome. You can see there when it flashes. Any sort of lipless like this or a little bit bigger lure fares a little bit better on something like this where it's got just a little bit stiffer tip. If you're throwing it on that ultralight, that tip is going like this because the lure is so heavy. So kind of match the lure to the power of the rod and go have some fun. This is braid. I don't even remember what pound braid, but it's the equivalent of like 2 or 3, I think 2-pound mono. Super strong, super tough. This one performed really well for me. I put these little rubber deals on here to hold the reel on. These are from 13 Fishing. Some people tape it. Some people will use zip ties to hold it on. I just like this because it's all flat, fits in your hand there. That's how I hold it and you can reel it. This reel is nice too because when you push the deal in, this all folds up. But this is the Max Ice. I showed you this last year, but I really like this setup for something a little bit stiffer. This is another setup that I use quite a bit as well. So this is the Fluger Tryon. You can see it's a round reel. It's not a spinning reel. Fits like this. Very comfortable in hand again. Works a little bit different from that 13 Fishing Freefall. Instead of having the trigger up here, it's got a button that you push, and that's what turns the spool and lets the line out. I didn't like this one as much as that Black Betty, the 13 Freefall reel. But drag on it worked really well. It was comfortable to reel in, just a nice little setup. The rod, however, I liked a lot. This is the Fenwick Elite Tech 27-inch medium light. So again, just a little bit different. This one I was throwing like my like little jig head deals here. So if I was throwing like a little spoon or a minnow head, something like that on it, this is just a little bit heavier and holds up a little bit better than like the ultralight or something like that. Again, just with a little bit heavier lures on there. Last up, I had the Okuma Ice X 30-inch medium, longer. This is for my bigger lipless, like if I'm getting into bigger walleye. Northern's what I was really hoping to get into this with like some minnows and stuff on it. I didn't, but that's what this one's for. It's got the, the different colored tips you can see when your tips moving. This one I had braid to a leader with the Okuma Cymar on it. Little 100 size, just a small little spinning reel. This was nice for the bigger stuff. Balance was good on it. Again, I put these rubber deals on. Randy got me these to hold my reel on, but fit nice. So those are mine, but again, I would say the ultralight for sure for like crappie, perch, bluegill, and then that 30-inch light or medium light for stuff that's just a little bit heavier. Okay, you can see here when it comes to little boxes, I've got my jigs and stuff organized in these little boxes also. Shout out to Nick Rundle and the boys over at the Bait Cave. He hooked me up with a ton of different stuff that Epic Bait Molds has a bunch of really cool ice fishing, plastics. So go check out Epic Bait Molds and all the neat ice fishing plastics if you like to make your own lures. All the lures, all the gear and stuff, this is the meat and potatoes of what I use. Most of the time, I am fishing a jig head with like a wax worm or a spike. Something tipped on here means just put on the back of it. You can see I've got different sizes, different head colors, but really a few of these real finesse ones, these micro ones, I had a day where the perch and bluegill only wanted the real small ones. You can go up in size. This one has been a good one for me, this white and orange. but a jig head with some sort of live worm or whatever on back does most of the fishing around here for me. Now, I would also recommend carrying with you some plastics. There were days last year where I outfished Dad using plastics on the back, and probably my favorite plastic of all time, the first time I made these, again, shout out to the guys over at the Bait Cave, was with them, but these are the little mold from Do It. This is probably my favorite of all time because it's got like these little balls on the front. You can break them off to whatever size you want. So if you want something bigger like this, you can break it off, and this is oftentimes what I do, break off those big ones and have just the ball piece with this little tiny tail you can see there. That's what I'll put my hook into, and then this tail is bouncing around back here. I like something with like a little spike real thin that has a bunch of action. So I'd recommend some small plastics like that, and then also some of these lipless. These are actually some liplesses that I painted up on my own. There's a number of different ones out there. There's like these little Rapallo minnow deals that glide down. They have like a wing back here and will kind of glide down and around. These little Rapallo Ultra Vibes, I had a lot of luck on these last year. Between this one and that 13 fishing one that I showed you, a ton of luck on these little liplesses, just bouncing them. I would put a live lure, like a spike on the front, and then this little tiny ice plastic on the back. I think this is a clam plastic. But again, just a real tiny tail, just barely bouncing that back there. It's got the flash, it's got the size to draw them in. Then when they get close, they see this little dangler or your little worm here and grab those hooks. Also a spoon deal like this. Dad uses the spoon. He's got another, I forget what it's even called, deal that he uses. These have a little buckshot in them to give them a little sound as you're jigging the spoon. It's like a perch color there, pink, white, a bunch of different ones you can get, but a spoon like this or a flashy spoon is also really nice. A lot of people will put like a minnow head down on the bottom of it, and those work well. There's some more of those liplesses that I was talking about. A couple other things you want to make sure you have is a measuring board if you're in a place that has slot limits or certain length requirements. This thing is awesome. Just lay it on there, put the nose there, measure your fish, and something to clear the ice holes. You got to get all that slush off. It's a pain in the butt trying to fish with slush there. This one's broke. I'm actually replacing. I've got a metal one. If your hole ices over anything, the bottom of it's like a pick, so you can pop your hole open. This thing's metal. I actually used this to bust some holes open last year. Those are some of the things that I use on a regular basis when I'm out ice fishing, but I want you all to comment below and let me know, what do you use? Are there some things that you found that you have to have when you go out ice fishing? And also, listen, I know everybody doesn't ice fish. It might not be for everybody, so comment below and let me know, what do you want to see in these ice fishing videos? What will get you more excited, get more people watching? I want to try to engage with people while I'm not open water fishing. So if there's like a fun ice fishing challenge or a catch and cook type thing you want to see, I did some of those last year, comment below and let me know. But listen, I gotta get out of here. If you're fishing open water, have fun. If you're fishing the ice, be safe. Love y'all. Thank you for watching, and until next time.